We are dealing with two different topics, warmth and time stretch. We are introducing these concepts to you, break them down so you understand it, and guide you how to use it. During that presentation, we explore a music what originally was written for Cuba Dance Retreat. We're going to play that little clip for you in the end of the video. Let's have fun. Let's get started. Through our process, we can influence our audio tracks in many different ways. These two subjects take that topic to the new level. Elastic, stretch, flexibility, adjustable. These the words what could describe the warmth technique. It's an interesting technique what allows us to not to print a permanent tempo of that recording, but a tempo what is adjustable to your liking, which means we can speed it up, slow it down. We are going to demonstrate our warmth technique through our own music. We found this oldie called Cuba Traveler. Before I hit the play, I'm gonna go to sampler, and then of course I'm gonna set the sampler up for the recording, which means the levels, the inputs, outputs, and now all we have to do is just arm it. Okay, so sampler it's going, now I'm gonna hit the recording button, play button on my recording. When you look at our sampler settings, there is something called max length, and it's set for 1 minute and 7 seconds. You can change that, no problem. But our sampler reached its end and said this is enough. I got what you wanted. Now this is the recording. First thing what we want to do is boost it. What do? You hit the process button. And the functions you hit normalize. Do it. Beautiful. Done. There is a reason why we chose this tune. If you look at the name of the tune, it's called Cuba Traveler MP3, but there is nothing about time signature. This is what we wanted for the purpose of this exercise. This should be enough. We don't have to be perfect with it. This is just the example of the music. Now, what do? the trim mode, as you know from the previous video, we've got the second page available. We hit that page, and there's something called Detect BPM. We're going to hit that, and now we have it. Hit Detect. 110. Once again, we go to Detect BPM, and we hit Detect. Calculating, and in the end, 110 beats per minute. Beautiful. This is very important information when we warp things around, because now we have to find a way to synchronize our sequence with that recording. Before it happens, we are going to hit Processing button and discard. What discard does, you know for certain, eliminates those pieces we didn't use and keeps the essence of our recording. Okay, beautiful. We want to synchronize our sequence with the sample music we just downloaded. Our music sample is in tempo of 110 beats per minute. Our project, 120. So now what do you do? What do you do? Well, you change the tempo of the sequence. Once we have the music and sequence synchronized, we go to Program Edit, and then we hit Samples, Warp, and now 110. Double click, it's there. Okay, Main, Record, Play, and after the click, we are going to hit the pad. 1. Okay, it's there. Now, nothing should stop us from slowing the music or speeding it up. So I'm gonna play the music and play with the BPM, the tempo. So we will drop it down, raise it up, and see what happens. It's 110. We hit play. Alright. Warp technique allows us to stretch the recording. The key signature maintains the same, but we can play with the time stretch back and forth. You have to be aware of certain things, that when we stretch too much, either way, there will be an element called a digital distortion. Digital distortion, it's when you stretch the recording too much, and it's related to both sides. You heard it, right? It's just, it reaches this moment that it becomes unreal. The other way. So this bass line becomes kind of warpy, right? So you have to be careful how much range of motion you use during this technique. The biggest benefit of using the warp is when you haven't decided which tempo to use for that specific music. So you kind of experiment what fits your profile before you commit to it. You got the idea. Now it's time to concentrate on time stretch and its function. So we're going to go to menu and create a brand new project. We don't want to save the other one. Okay, and we are going to generate a new sample of music. Since we discovered this oldie record of ours, there is another song called Bass Vibe, and as you see, it doesn't have any beats per minute. So it's the same situation, perfect. So I'm hitting the sampler, the sample is in place. Let's just increase the amount of time to 122, just to be safe. And now just arm it, record it, and I'm gonna hit play. All right, beautiful. Bass vibe, part number 4 this time. Edit, and we're going to do the same thing. Process, function, normalize, do it. Excellent. And now we are going to find the section what works for us the most. All right. We have the recording in place. Now we have to find that beginning of the sample we really like. Around. Somewhere here. Okay, should be in place. Okay, it's pretty good. We have to be very aware of what the tune button does. The tune button in trim mode elevates the key of our recording. Beautiful thing. So you can change it. But also it elevates our timing of the recording. You add semitones. Oh, it looks sounds even better. Going up. If you have a desire to elevate your key, I could first elevate the key, then detect BPM once again once you're done, and pursue it the way we pursue it, the warp technique and also time stretch. All right, let's detect. Before commit, let's detect the BPM one more time. Detect, calculating, 185. We chose the section we like the most. Now it's time to stretch it. Process, function, discard, rest of it. Boom. So we've got the essence, right? Beautiful. Again, process, and this time we hit time stretch. The tempo of our sequence is 120. Original tempo of the recording 93, new tempo 120. Do it. Processing done. Okay, sequence. That's the tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, all we can do is just record it. Here we go. There is a good news and bad news. The good news is the quality of the recording. It's crisp, it's nice, even though we stretched it. So the quality of it is still solid. The bad news is that we committed to that tempo, which means we cannot change it. It's permanent. Permanent, not so fast. Which brings me to this moment that everyone talks about. Should I warp or should I time stretch? Which technique is better? In my world, nothing is permanent. You can always find a way to adjust your creation. Which means, even though I time stretch the recording, I can still warp it after. Which brings me to my point. You as a music composer and arranger, you've got a specific vision in mind. So you're going to a specific pathway. If you think that this song will benefit if you slow it down or speed it up, that's the direction. So now, if I were you, I could time stretch it first, warp it second. What it does, when I don't warp the recording both ways, slow and up, I eliminated this potential of distortion on each end. You understand? So now, the range of motion is so big that I may get lost in that transition. Now, if I have a direction, it's like, I'm gonna speed it up. Okay, that's fine. You speed that music sample just a little bit, time stretch it, and then you can tweak it by using a warp. So you apply a warp on top of a new tempo, and then you warp it, but in a smaller range of motion. Everyone complains about warp, that it's too much distraction, but you see, if you use it in minimum way, you achieve beautiful results. Okay, so this music piece, it's gonna be flexible enough to make tweaks and adjustments, but in a smaller range of motion. So My suggestion is that you time stretch the recording first, warp it second. Your music constantly goes through motion. Once you understand the difference between warp and the time stretch and its functions, now you have extra helper under your disposal. So you go through motion and then you say to yourself, oh, I'm gonna time stretch this or that. I'm gonna warp this or that. So basically you will be unstoppable and nothing will be on your way. Why? Because you control these tools, you understand them, and you have them just in case for the future reference. I hope it was helpful. Let me know what you think. My name is Piotr Kowalczyk. See you next time.